All right, you guys, time to learn about the eye. Definitely the most important feature on the face because it's just really what makes a face look the most realistic. So I'm going to go through with you guys right now. We're going to do a drawing together. Go ahead and do this in your sketchbook. Let's review really quickly. How far apart are a pair of eyes? If you remember, they are one eye apart, so this is the measurement of an eye. There'd be another eye way over there somewhere. When you guys do your assignment after this, you're going to do a pair of eyes, not a single eye. But for right now, we're just looking at one eye. First thing I like to do when I draw an eye is draw the shape. The shape is this. It's inside the eyelashes, okay? Most people's eyes are about, let's say this, twice as wide as they are tall. So notice that and make your eyes a little bit on the shorter side. So I'm going to go ahead and do my best here to sketch the picture that I see. I see a tear duct shape here. Don't get carried away there, don't make it huge, but it's part of that eye shape and it's important to making your eyes look realistic. So I left that little shape there. And heading over this way. Does that look about right? Now, one thing I'd say I did wrong right away, but I'm not going to stop and fix it, ignore that bell, sorry, is the corner of the eye on many people tends to be slightly lower than the outside of the eye. It's like it makes a slight angle up. I didn't do that, but I'm not going to go back right now. Next up, we're going to shape in the inside parts of the eye, the iris and the pupil. The iris is a perfect circle. It never changes. What confuses students is that part of it is hidden by the eyelid. The only time you would draw the entire circle is when someone has their eyes like wide, wide, wide. So right now, for a normal looking eye, what I suggest students do is kind of figure out where the bottom of the iris is showing, and from there, very lightly draw the entire circle so that you get a nice circle and not some weird oval shape. Then you can go back and erase the parts that don't show. Inside, I've got the pupil that should be also centered, always centered in the middle of the iris. It does not move. It doesn't float up in the iris no matter what. There's my iris, the outside colored part of the eye. There's my pupil, the solid black part of the eye. Next, we have to shade in the iris. No iris is left white. That's weird. Actually, let me change this. The next thing we need to do is draw in that white shiny spot. Find the shiny spot. Don't outline it dark. It doesn't have a big dark outline on it. But we need to shape it in because that has to stay pure, bright white. After that, the pupil is pure, dark, dark, pure black. It's one of the only holes on your face, so it's black. Solid black. The outer rim of the iris is also darker. So I'll darken that in a little bit. Now, the inside all depends on what kind of eyes you have. If they're really, really dark, dark brown, almost black eyes, you would go ahead and start shading them in. If you've got something like green eyes or blue eyes, what we see is sort of a starburst texture. Very lightly from the center of my pupil, I'm going to start sort of feathering in some lines. Do not draw inside the shiny spot. As if they're radiating out from the center of the pupil towards that outer edge of the iris. I'm going to come back and do the same thing from the outer edge in. What I'm going for here is sort of a shimmery look. And it's also lighter through this section. Go ahead and pause the video if you haven't to this point. You need to pause the video and draw what we have done so far. I'm going to continue filling in some iris lines. At the pupil, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go even darker. We will notice on blue eyes especially, they are darkest near the pupil. And then lastly, you can take your finger or a shading stick and sort of soften this. It doesn't look spiky. I don't want it to look spiky, that'd be weird. And I think maybe even go darker. This is pretty light. I would suggest darker. Most eyes are not quite this light. Moving along here, we've got the tear duct over in this section. Sometimes I draw like a little shape there and shade above it. Notice how the tear duct is sort of shiny right there where it's damp. Inside the eyeball, on the white of the eyeball, we will also find that there's quite a bit of shadow. I wonder if I have a shading stick. I don't. I would use a little shading stick, or very lightly the tip of your pencil, to add in some of the shadow on the eyeball, because the eyeball is basically a sphere, and so it has to have shading to make it look realistic. A little bit of shading over here as well. Let's move outside the eyeball. First of all, I'm going to get up here and I'm going to redarken this line. That upper lid has a dark shadow because it's blocking light. Next thing I notice is the eyelid crease. You need to observe the person you're looking at. It usually lines up kind of here with the corner of the eye. Might get thicker. They change shapes depending on the person. And down here, I'm going to add an extra line here to be where my lower eyelashes grow out of. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video and I will start a new one. Go ahead and catch up to where I am.